I will straight away go to business. Amit, what are your thoughts? And so clean energy, what role it will play? How do you want us to respond to this monumental challenge every year? Do we have some permanent solutions?
I think the air quality issue is fundamentally about handling your day-to-day consumption and usage patterns. We have a notion that it is contributed significantly by the burning of the stubble, which is wrong. That's only 8% of the contribution. Actually, the substantial contribution comes from our transportation. 50% of the air pollution in Delhi comes out of your transportation. Now, can we organize a transportation system? It's been in the making for whatever number of years, you know. The second area which is of significant concern remains, we are talking about FGDs and thermal power plants. I wish we could wish away coal. Installed capacity for India today in thermal generation is around 52% is the coal. And the output is around 75%. The variability that sun, the solar and the wind, or hybrid for that matter, brings in, will still need a baseload to secure. And you have 140 crore plus to run with. So I think we have to take perspectives from the Supreme Court judgments that came in the two cases this January. Justice Gawai's opinion in the Shimla development plan and Justice Chandrachud's opinion in the GIB matter, where they reversed.
Great Indian Bus.
In both judgments, they completely came back to the point, you need to balance between ecology and environment and development. In GIB, they struck a balance between actually the endangered species versus the climate change and energy transition. And recognized that they had made a mistake in giving a carte blanche, because the area for GIB endangered species only 13,000 square kilometers. Over 1 lakh square kilometers had been blocked out. So your entire solar development had come to a standstill for 27 months. Doing a great disservice to all of us. So the balance was struck by saying that we must get experts to come and work on it. That is the core. Realization at our individual level on our consumption and our utilization. And secondly, making policies which are going to last. Yeah. Today, if you beat FGD, last point I'll make, the big issue on FGD is that it produces SOx. The sulfate dissipates, first of all, it's at 250 feet or above. So therefore, the immediate impact is not there. People don't realize it. IIT Delhi has come out with a study, which should be published soon. There's two other studies which are there, which are contesting it. So this needs to be debated in public domain, people will be made aware. But what you do by that is you produce, by saving 1 unit of SOx, you produce 3 units of CO2. CO2 stays in the environment for 1 billion years. So are you actually buying a longer term problem and a bigger problem?
Yeah.
And the water table goes down further. So there is a need for a balance again. Therefore, shortcut solutions are very good to make. But if you're going to go long term and try and achieve something, it has to be sustainable and has to be done in a manner which will transition the economy to viability. Don't forget, we have a lot of people who need to be taken care of simultaneously.
Yep. So Hemant, I will ask you, and both of you are one of the biggest energy experts in the country. I think one issue also needs to be settled, because Amit said that 50% is because this factor. Every court, every government institution, they are not sure about this entire percentage. Shall we organize a forensic audit of this? That because IIT says something else, different IITs also say different stuff actually. Because I am fighting a matter in Delhi High Court in my own name on air pollution for 10 years. Every time a new report comes and it gives some other percentage to some other factor. So one is, what is the best way to get this, whether clean energy, whether thermal power plants have any bigger responsibility? Because that talk is happening now, that periphery of Delhi thermal power plants. We did shut the Delhi ones. So what are your suggestions on that?
So I think it's an important point. I mean, unless you have your data in place, solutions, are sometimes mismatched. Biggest example is what Amit just mentioned about FGDs. So there is an internal report now of the Niti Aayog which says FGD is not required. And that is after several years of implementation by several power plants. Yeah. And the question is...
what actually is this? I didn't understand.
Okay, so what happened was about 5-6 years back, there was a notification by the Ministry of Environment that FGDs are mandatory for all thermal plants of certain capacities. And they set up a phased implementation plans starting with Delhi as the epicenter. So 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers onwards. So a lot of the power plants went and invested and they've set up the FGD plants. And now there's a recent internal report, which is still not public, am I right? Yeah. So it says, actually, FGD is not the solution.
Right.
And now the power plants are not required to put the FGDs in place. So that is lack of data. You're absolutely right. But coming back to the contributing factors, I mean, I think the known contributors are transportation, construction, stubble burning, and perhaps a few others. So I think the relative proportions one can keep debating on. But the reality is that at the time of the year, stubble burning is 30% of the contributor. On an annualized basis, it is only about, say, 5-10%. Transportation happens, of course, throughout the year. I just wanted to chat a little bit about the stubble part of it. Okay, so there are 4 states around Delhi which are really contributing in a big way to the whole stubble burning issue. And the point is that is the size of the particles which really are the harmful things. So below a certain micron size, they remain in your lungs on a permanent basis. Now, there is technology available in India. Of course, it's different from Western technology, which is efficient burning of paddy straw.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So in India, the problem is only a paddy straw because wheat straw is used as fodder for milch animals. Your paddy straw has a high silica content and is not suitable for the animals. Now, the time that the farmer has is literally a window of 30 to 45 days when he harvests his last paddy crop and he has to sow the next. So it's okay to say that NTPC will pelletize and burn it in their boilers, but they've taken several years and done only 5% of the paddy. Now, there are these states around Delhi where they have started implementing agri-waste to energy. Okay, that takes care of the particles issue, the smog issue, and all of that. So when you burn it in an incinerator in a power plant, you can control the emissions much better. The problem is the states don't want to implement them beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
And there's politics involved. There is the example or the excuse given is, oh, it's very expensive. It's not, because if you take the entire paddy that is generated and create power plants for that, the total capacity is about 500 to 600 megawatts or 700 megawatts compared to multiple gigawatts of power that is being generated and used. So the actual impact on retail tariff is very marginal. So coming back to your point, I think it's some of this data that needs to be built up.
Yeah.
So that at least a rational solution is found. And I don't think there's one solution for everything. Transportation requires a different approach.
I'll ask Sanjeev something on this, that you think that in this country we protected the tiger because it had no election issue, like unlike and we also now protecting the trees like never before. In earlier also in the past, if you fell a tree, ministers have been jailed. And one Maharashtra election was fought on the whole RA issue, the last 5 years back, the assembly election. Now you have a Supreme Court today passing order. There is almost like a tree bench which is passing order on the Delhi issue where the Lieutenant Governor has been asked to give so many details. The tree is protected, tiger is protected very well. Every year, now today's AQI data is, a new analysis has come that 25% of deaths in India is happening because of air pollution. 25% of overall deaths. And if you're not smoking, chance of lung cancer, 25%. That's Delhi. And you're talking about 2 to 3 months. Now, it hardly bothers to the common person. It hardly bothers to the government, to the politician. Even for courts, they have passed orders. It's not happening on the ground. So I'm not asking you anything on the plants per se. I'm asking you, because you always come out with very interesting things. How do this Parali thing becomes a tiger?
Well, Sudhir, I think, whatever observations and questions you asked, it's, so many things, and I have so many thoughts going on right now. But then I will just take your last point of Parali. The moment you realize that because of Parali and because of air pollution, how much investment you are blocking from coming to India, you will realize that at a fraction of the cost, you can address the Parali issue. We have all perhaps lived in villages and towns. Typically, all states, there's a government functioning in terms of a block development officer. and that block development officer controls everything in terms of village and everything. If you put a responsibility on him, and in fact you invest money on that in terms of parali, how to dispose the parali and all that, I think you will get the results. And at a fraction of the cost, what we are discussing today, that because of parali, air pollution, even, whenever you are interacting with the outside world and the outside investors, now they are so apprehensive that why you are having the corporate office in Delhi. Okay, for example. So why you, what to invest, in terms of a country, a nation, a capital, which even cannot control this basic issue. What kind of investor confidence we would be giving to them? So this is the fundamental issue. And personally, I believe, I have studied in villages and towns, and I can say with responsibility that give a responsibility to village panchayat or block development officer, you will get that done.
Yeah.
This is on the parali part. Now, should I answer the other
Yeah.
also? Okay. So now I think, this is a fundamental issue. The way, and I am witness to so many judgments of the environment courts for the last 10, 15 years. The way in which I perceive these judgments are, and with all due respect to judiciary, media is so dominating the minds of the courts that they pass judgments on those very issues, perhaps where you don't need those kind of judgments. They are not realizing that how much damage they are doing to the economy per se, to the economic growth of the nation. So that is the fundamental, because I say that media is dominating. Perhaps media might not be dominating on these issues. There also they can, follow some strict kind of actions. If they can close plants in one or the other stage, based on the judgments, the huge investments are getting jeopardized. Why can't they take action on these issues? They can.
Yeah.
But then, yes, you are right. You use the word in the first instance, the politics. We all realize this, we all understand this, where there are 3 or 4 states involved. Somewhere there would be some other considerations, which might be impacting.
So I will come to the government in the last, actually, because the government is sitting next to us. Like this in a my bap government. But today is a very, today is a very good day for India to reassure itself that if we want to function efficiently, we function really efficiently. A chess player won such a large amount, and his tax figures have come immediately in the public domain. How much the government will get, 43% or whatever. Similarly, a particular family has been caught from Gurgaon, taken to Bangalore. Never you could have imagined 5 years before that something like that can happen. So this country surprises you. I'm not going on the merits of it. I'm just telling you the factual information. Coming to Jay, and both me and Jay have been appointed as amicus in the Supreme Court. Day after tomorrow we'll be in the green bench. So I don't know how freely we'll speak after that. But Jay, your thoughts on air pollution crisis of Delhi?
I think the point that you make in terms of auditing and finding out exactly what are the percentages in terms of contributors to air pollution is dot on. Okay, because some claim that vehicular emissions are at 50%. Some reports say 30%. Some even, if you speak to the World Bank, they'll say 25% Delhi emissions come from vehicles. One of the points that Amit and Hemant were making were about FGDs. The only cursory point that I'm going to make is that this decision was made in 2015. And there are about 12 thermal plants, since we were talking about thermal plants today. There are 12 thermal plants which fall within 300-kilometer radius of the Delhi National Capital Region, which are covered under this scheme. You know how many have actually received FGD equipment? 1. And 1 is on its way or getting it. That will complete in 2026. Okay. So imagine something which was announced in 2015, while we are very speedy on some of the other stuff that you were mentioning, we are not so speedy on this. Irrespective of what the merit is, whether it's good, bad, or is it really effective. If it is not effective, then what is the alternative to this? in terms of controlling emissions from thermal power plants? I think that's a big question
Yeah.
to be addressed.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that's a big question.
Yeah.
I always say two things will take us through this whole energy transition and the pollution issue. One is technology, and I think number two is a human behavior. What you and I will conduct ourselves as human beings, as citizens of Delhi, or for citizens of India, is going to determine the nature of what the state of pollution will be in this country. I think it's very, very important. To overcome the gap, I think technology will play its role. So I think these are my 2 points.
Very well. Govind, I'll come to you before you go to Dr. Kumudini. Govind, I have a very interesting question from you because we are very good as a country on coming in picture where we need to come in picture. Like we sell the car. We sold those beautiful diesel cars in 2021 and started penalizing them with 20,000 challan in 2023 because they were not compliant to Bharat 6 because they were sold till 2021. If I had bought my car in 2022, I had no problem. And it was so efficient. You go to any place in Delhi in this season, last year, I got a call from a media CEO who had just bought a BMW high range diesel car and his car was stopped and he had to pay 20,000 fine. And very efficient collection of fine. Even this time also it was happening last month. Why can't we cap? Sabka ho raha hai. Why can't we cap the registration of fossil fuel cars in Delhi if we are so diligent about these things? Issue the number plates and then allow them to buy the car. Eventually you'll have to buy this. Roads are not expanding. Chandni Chowk to badlega nahi. South Delhi to badlega nahi. Dusra, why you are not letting people cycle? If somebody dares to take a cycle, a truck will crush him. That's my point number 2. Third point is, you can efficiently collect the traffic fine, but you'll not stop the trucks from coming in the South Delhi. And what my friend said, very important point about our own behavior. In the RWA, for one parking, we'll fight with each other, stab also. But the RWA will not come to the ring road in Vasant Vihar and Defense Colony and say why the trucks are moving in the night and killing my children. What are your thoughts?
So, Sudhir, thank you, first of all. And these 2 points, I'll start with a very interesting fact about diesel cars. A Rolls-Royce owner who was challaned, he go to a scientific lab, he conducted a test of his emission, and it was clearer than Delhi air.
I'm sure.
And he even put a petition to the minister. They said, we can't help you with that. So certainly, fossil run fuel engines are a problem nowadays. As the changing environment, changing ecosystem, earlier, these fossil engines were considered to be the cleanest. And they were considered as a revolution to the development, to your mobility, that eased your life. But with the every passing year, number of people started buying it more, then it's become a problem. So initially, all invention, if we talk about technology, till the time technology is new to a society, it will be perceived very well. But when it's become a common man's game, then it's become a common man's problem also. So issuing a challan to a person for 20,000 for playing a vehicle which he has legitimately bought, legitimately paid a tax on that, he has all the rights to play it on the road.
And just bought 1 year back or 2 years back.
2 years back. He done all the legitimate things. He paid tax, he paid on his income, he takes tax on the registration of the car, he's paying insurance every year. He's doing everything what he can do to play a car. But still, the dynamics of law and the changing ecosystem led you to other side of the law.
Yeah.
For which you are helpless. Again, we talk about technology, but every technology has a life. And it gets obsolete at some point of time. So I think there has to be the basic criteria of human behavior that need to be inculcated in every citizen of the Delhi. And not to Delhi, to every citizen of this country. So just following a society trend, buying a fancy swanky car, playing it on a road.
Buying a 190 crore flat.
Buying a 190 crore flat and still breathing the same air.
190 QI.
So it doesn't make a difference. So my summary point on this would be, vehicles are not an issue. A sale of vehicle is not an issue. the manner they had been played on the road is an issue. And the manner government overnight changes law, that is an issue.
Okay.
Since on second point, we talk about cycle. So cycling, I would give you another fact. Today only Minister of Roadways has, Ministry of Road has issued a fact that Delhi is the most unsafe city in terms of road accident.
They have insured it.
They have given the official statement regarding that.
They have. Because Sunita Narayan tried, she was telling everybody to cycle and she went and in front of AIMS, they slammed her, the Center for Science and Environment Act.
So
You
before
can't cycle here.
before a person would care for an environment, they will care for their life.
Yeah. I
Because
understand.
they need a pair of lungs to
I'll
breathe.
come back to you, Govind. Kumudini ma'am, you are for the government. And tell me that I'm very happy that मैंने बड़े हल्के से capping of cars पर आज चर्चा शुरू कर दी क्योंकि अगर कुछ हम और कोई मारने भी नहीं दौड़ा ठीक है but actually tell me one thing Denmark has 150% registration. I was there 10 days back and तब से and I was watching everybody cycle. Hemant bhai, they always cycling and at the red lights there were separate red lights for cycles and I have put videos about them because I know we all keep on talking so I'm doing it deliberately and there was a stand also to keep your hand while you rest on the rail. So it's all a serious business. हमारे यहाँ वो encroach हो जाता है या उस पर गाय आके बैठ जाती है भैंस भी बैठ जाती है गाय को तो बोलना भी ठीक नहीं है तो what do you think हम क्या करें हम साइकिल चलाना भी चाहें कहाँ छिप के चलाएं किस समय चलाएं और what are your thoughts गवर्नमेंट्स में क्या बात हो रही है क्लीन एनर्जी पे एयर पोल्यूशन पे आप क्या बातें सुनी what do you think what are your thoughts
Sudhir ji, I am a one belonging to a company which generates fossil fuel, and we are the originator.
मैं आपको कहीं और ले जा रहा था मैं आपको कहीं और ले जा रहा था आप खुद आ रहे हो आपने धमाल मूवी देखी है Have you seen धमाल मूवी Javed Jaffrey was left at the same spot.
So I must admit, but point is that whatever we produce is peanuts, and it's more than enough for bees. It's not even enough. It is just a peanut in the demand segment of the hydrocarbons. But what I feel, what we should be doing, especially with reference to Delhi, not the India as a whole, we have to do something, not to do something, basically. I still remember those COVID times when कोई कुछ नहीं कर रहा था, तब सब कुछ ठीक था. I really wonder why it was so. And Dadri is a plant which we are talking FGD, and FGD is thing which my brother is working on in Dadri. He's working on Jhajjar on this FGD. He said such a hue and cry was made, and this FGD of Dadri is complete. Correct? Has the pollution reduced? Has it made any difference to it? Why we blame thermal power? Thermal power plants were working in COVID. It was essential. But air quality was good.
So basically,
It's a basic question I'm asking as a layman. Plant काम कर रहे थे, सबको बिजली आ रही थी. Clean, बहुत clean थी air. Are thermal plants responsible for Delhi pollution? So much of expenditure has gone in FGD. That is a public money. Had this expenditure gone in creating a green belt across the Delhi, to my understanding, Delhi works like an exhaust fan in winters. And in all other rooms, there is no exhaust fan. There is exhaust fan in the kitchen. It sucks all fumes. And if you put an exhaust fan in every respective rooms, kitchen will not be full of fumes. So if you have those peripheral boundaries who can stop the parali pollution then and there, not entering Delhi, I think that will suffice rather than we talking about technology. Technology, we bought the technology of cutting the paddy. It has got its own demerits.
So I'll just tell that a particular state, and Amit bhai, I have told you, asked us to do a study how they contribute in reducing Delhi air pollution. So with OP Jindal and Terry, I did that study in 2022. Made a brilliant report. Actually, they were responsible in reducing the parali burning. When we went to ask them to release the report, they said, नहीं, हम नहीं release करेंगे. इससे ये पता चल जाएगा हम responsible थे पहले. So we are Andher Nagari Chaupat Raja. That's where we are. I'll just take last word from Hemant bhai. I will start with you. What is your one suggestion individually for the community? Let's leave government. And what is one suggestion which you want to advocate?
It's okay to say we can cycle and all that, but Delhi is not a cyclable city. I think we should invest more in public transport. For many years, till COVID, I used to use the metro as far as I could. But, it's very limited. Right. So using public transport is a good idea, but it has to be made usable, right? And people like us who move around, we have to get out of our cars to get into the metros. It has to be a much stronger system. As far as private initiative is concerned, I don't think cycling or walking is really an option in Delhi with the heat and monsoons most of the year, and is unsafe. But I think, just use fuel-efficient cars which are available today. So make further investments.
Sure. Amit bhai, last word.
I suggest two things. Supplement his point. 1998, to amicus curiae, Tuesday you have to take it up. Supreme Court directed get 10,000 buses and public transport be augmented. Today we have 7,800.
Very good.
98,
When
2024.
they directed in 98?
1998.
Okay.
So for something for your brief. Out of which only 1970 is e-buses. You still have diesel.
I have to ask you one question. Can they supply more e-buses if the state has the money?
Of course.
We have no supply issue there.
No, there is no issue. And Indians are manufacturing. And the beauty of the bid was that they are able to procure e-buses at a cheaper cost than the diesel and kerosene buses. So everything is a win. Number two, equally important, the coping cost for public transport in Delhi is actually higher than the private transport because this is not interconnected multimodal. You have to make sure that it's door to door.
Yeah.
So your productivity is down and people are suffering on account of that. So that's one. Second, why do we have plastic bottles?
Yes.
And why can't we carry cloth bags? If those two things can be done by all of us in the room and outside, it solve many problems. We buy everything in plastic, which is single use. We throw it on the street. We create a big mess. We have water here.
I agree.
We implemented in our farm 2 years ago, all glass bottles, no plastic, none whatsoever.
Now they have got a small glass bottle also with this thing.
Yes.
200 ml also.
Yes.
So we have got them.
And you can keep it in your vehicle wherever you're going.
We'll just finish it. Sanjeev sir.
Well, I think it's a mindset issue. Avoid a wastage of all forms and shapes. I think that would address. Even the switching of the light when you're coming out from the room, that would also, it's all mindset change. So I think, but just it's a wastage of all forms and shapes that should be avoided.
We should try. Kumudini?
I would prefer if the government could make a staggered timings for the offices. I think that will ease the load on the 9 to 6, and then we will be more adapt to taking our metros and roads will be less congested. I think that's a small step which I would suggest.
Govind?
I would stick to fundamental. We need to educate people first. They need to be more aware about their ecosystem and surroundings.
Yeah.
Well, I think greening of Delhi obviously plays a very, very important role. Other than that, I think walking is not a solution at all. My own friend, I've stopped cycling. You can see the paunch now because during COVID, I cycled for nearly 1.5 years. And then we lost a comrade on SP Marg, killed by an army truck. I think it was all over the papers. So Delhi is not safe for cycling either. I think work from home, a staggered work from home can also be a solution in terms of putting lesser vehicles on the streets.
Okay, so thank you. It was a great panel and I'm very grateful for this panel. Thank you. Thanks a lot.